Hey guys, it's Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, and today's video is called What You Must Know About Using Voice over IP in Hotels. So, before we hop into this one, I am actually here in sunny Costa Rica, and I thought to myself, I had an interesting story of a woman that contacted me way back when. Actually, I want to say it was about 3 months ago, in regards to some very severe issues that she was having using voice over IP in a hotel. And so I thought, what better time than to do this video while I'm actually at a hotel, and also been able to investigate and see kind of what the quality of their internet is in regards to being able to cater to the potential voice over IP needs of their clients. So to jump right into this story, guys, it goes something like this. I was sitting in the office one day and I had a woman contact me, and she basically said, "Hey, what do you know about voice over IP in hotels?" And I said, "How so? Or what about?" And she told me, she said, "I'm having nothing but severe issues with my IP phone." She said, "I live here." And, my first reaction was, "I'm sorry to hear that. Is everything okay?" And she started laughing and she said, No. She said, "I live here because I got my dream job offer. I got my dream job offer about a month ago, or actually it was like a week, I think." And she said that she had to just pack all of her stuff and move to another state. And she was waiting for her first 2 paychecks to be able to, rent a home and things like that. So she was living there under good circumstances. Dream job landed, and she had to just pack all her stuff and move to where it was needed. Her employer had supplied her with a voice over IP phone, like many do, especially with everything that's going on now with social distancing and the need to work from home. But the problem that she was having was the internet at the hotel wasn't exactly up to par the way that she needed it to be able to make sure that the voice over IP was working well. So she was getting everything from call breakup, static, dropped calls, failed transfers. For those of you who have not frequented my channel, and I'll tag the video, I actually did a video, I believe, called How to Fix the Most Common Voice over IP Issues. Every single issue that I mentioned in that video, this poor woman was having. So I want to talk about what you guys need to know if you choose to use your voice over IP in a hotel. And I'm going to also talk to you about how to get around some common issues and pitfalls. So the first thing that you need to know about using voice over IP in hotels, which is the main reason why this poor woman was having all the issues she was having, is you do not control, and you will never have control of the router, the switch, the network, and everything that is at the hotel that you are staying at. To break it down into layman's terms, for the hundreds of customers that I have worked with voice over IP to help find the right service provider, if and when any problems arise, step number 1, they contact their voice over IP service provider, i.e. Vonage Business, i.e. Nextiva, i.e. Ring Central, i.e. OnSip. First thing you need to do is contact the provider's tech support, tell them you're having problems. I can tell you guys from experience, because I've worked with just about every legitimate voice over IP service provider or phone system in the United States, at least in my heyday, but I can honestly tell you that probably 98.5% of the time, the issue, if you have any of the issues I've mentioned, static, call breakup, drop calls, failed transfers, phone not registering to your voice over IP provider's servers, it's usually not your provider. 98.5% of the time, it's your network. If it's your own private business, and like I mentioned, you pick up the phone and you contact the service provider and you say, "Hey, I'm having technical issues," they ask you to describe what they are. They're going to know whether those issues are caused by their service or whether it's caused by your network or your router. Easy fix. They're going to say, "Hey, Mr. Bob, Mrs. Sally, can you give me XYZ information so that I can log into your router or into your network remotely, see what's causing it, and then make the changes with your permission where needed?" "Oh, sure, yes, fine, problem solved." That's because that is your network. The problem that you have in a hotel or motel or a resort like what I'm staying in here is you don't have control or the authorization to make changes to their network, and neither does your voice over IP service provider. Just think about it. They're not going to let you or your voice over IP service provider make changes to the network, because then that could cause inadvertent problems to other patrons that are here. In short, what you see is what you get when it comes to internet services with internet and hotels, motels, and resorts. So the question now becomes, what does this mean? How do you use voice over IP in a hotel, motel, or resort now that we've pretty much solidified and confirmed they will never let you or your service provider make any changes to that network? Which means they may have a router that's incompatible with your voice over IP service provider. Usually it's the firewall. If it's not an incompatible router with your service provider, a lot of times it's the firewall with their network or router is basically blocking traffic from your voice over IP provider, which again, you can't change that. In short, how do you deal with a network that you can't change anything on, but you need to be able to make changes to rectify the issues with your voice over IP? It's simple, a workaround. I recommend using a mobile app. There is this thing that God created in the voice over IP world called mobile apps. The reason I recommend that you use your mobile app when you are traveling or when you are in a rented space like a hotel, motel, or resort is because it gives you two options. You can either use your mobile app, actually you have three options. You can use the mobile app over the Wi-Fi in the hotel. If the Wi-Fi in the hotel, motel, or resort is causing you any of the issues like what I just described, the most common voice over IP issues, which again, I'll tag that video, you can then go into most mobile apps like a Nextiva, a Vonage, a RingCentral, a Zoom, the list goes on and on. You can go into the mobile app and you can tell it not to use the Wi-Fi of the place that you're at and use either the LTE or 4G or soon to be 5G of your cell service provider, or use the cellular tower service of your mobile service provider that you're using. What does this mean? This basically means that you are instructing your mobile app on your cell phone to bypass the Wi-Fi, which is what is causing you issues. It's not the Wi-Fi causing issues, it's the equipment or the network protocols or the firewall associated with the Wi-Fi or internet that you are trying to use that is causing the problems. So instruct your mobile app to use the LTE or the 4G on your cellular provider, which should work just fine with your mobile app and should eliminate any call breakup or things like that. Assuming that you're in an area where you've got decent, signal, you've got more than one bar or something like that. One other thing I want to touch on is, so let's say that you don't have enough LTE or 4G service or something like that. Typically, and this has been my experience even traveling internationally, typically even when you don't have LTE or 4G or 5G, you can still get cellular service to make calls in and out. Most service providers have a feature within their voice over IP mobile app to basically tell you bypass Wi-Fi, bypass LTE, bypass 4G and 3G, and use the cellular towers for you to make or receive calls. So that's a third option that you have there to be able to bypass, the first two, if those don't work and they don't give you the call quality or the call stability that you require, so that you can still conduct business or make a few business calls, or make those calls that you need to make on vacation or whatever. One final point that I want to talk about is, some of you may be watching this and you're thinking, well, Prince, what if I don't want to use a mobile app when I'm in a hotel, motel, or resort on travel? What if I want to use like an actual physical phone? You can, but I will tell you guys that not every single hotel has Cat 5 or Cat 6. The resort that I'm actually staying at, it's got excellent Wi-Fi. My mobile app with Vonage worked fine, but I don't see a Cat 5 or a Cat 6 jack anywhere in this hotel, which means if I had bought one of the mini phones that you guys see me review in my videos that only plug into Cat 5 or Cat 6, I wouldn't be able to use it. Now, some IP phones out there do connect to Wi-Fi, like the one that I use, the Yealink T54W at the time of this video, that you guys have seen me do in a different video, which I believe was called what I actually use in my office for voice over IP. But those are rare. Most, I mean, I would say out of like 100 IP phones that I see, maybe one of them would support connecting to Wi-Fi. So I don't know that I would use that as your fallback. So in short, that concludes this video. What you must know about using voice over IP in hotels. Obviously, this falls into the same category of resorts and motels as well. I recommend just using your mobile app. Any legitimate carrier these days that you've got voice over IP through, that is a cloud-based or hosted voice over IP carrier, they include their mobile app for every single user for free at no extra charge if you already have an account with them. I use it all the time. I've used my mobile app internationally. I've used my mobile app across the states on travel. I've used my mobile app even on an airplane while on takeoff before you get so high that you can't get a signal or anything anymore. A mobile app is basically a mimicked version of your physical hard desk phone or extension at your office. Your voicemail is still there, your text messages are still there, your call history is still there. It's literally your voice over IP extension duplicated. So why not use that? Because it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to have a mobile app on your cell phone, which you could put in a pocket or in a luggage bag, than carry around a big clunky IP phone. Also, as I mentioned in the video, you have multiple different ways to bypass the hotel's internet services to be able to use your voice over IP. There's too many variables with internet in hotel. Number one, as I already mentioned in the beginning of the video, you have zero control over the over the network. So even if you were an IT person like me and you knew what changes need to be made on that hotel's router or server or whatever it is to be able to make your voice over IP phone or IP service work correctly, it doesn't matter. They're not going to let you change it. The other thing is you don't know how many people are actually at a hotel, motel, or resort that you're at. So you don't know how, you don't know how congested the bandwidth may or may not be at the time that you're trying to make important business or important calls through your voice over IP service. So keep that in mind as well. If a lot of people are using the internet and downloading things, that's going to have a severe impact on the amount of bandwidth that's available for your voice over IP calls, and that could result in some very poor call quality, which is not what you want for your clients and for your contacts that you're trying to call. Last but not least, mobile app will allow you to be able to connect using other methods, such as your own cellular service providers, 4G, LTE, 3G, or 5G. I really don't recommend using 3G for voice over IP calls. I would stick to 4G, LTE, and if you're lucky enough to have it yet, 5G. I've actually used 4G and LTE with my mobile app many times, and it's worked great, and people tell me they can hear me just fine, and I can make and receive calls just fine, and the caller ID still come up as my business number no matter where I am in the world. So anyways, that concludes this video. What you must know about using voice over IP in hotels. If you're watching this video and you aren't currently using voice over IP and maybe you travel a lot, you frequent hotels, and you'd like to find out what service providers out there may have the best or the better mobile app for your needs, I represent all of those providers in the United States. So give me a call. My services are free. I'm paid by the service providers for helping you find the best services, and I represent all of the major voice over IP service providers in the States. If you found this video helpful, please like this video. Also, please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We upload new videos every single week. Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, your go-to guy for the best deals on business, phone, and internet service in the United States. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'm going to get back to my vacation.